Welcome back to the deep dive. So often our listener submissions involve these really intricate white papers or the latest economic research.
Right.
But today we are going completely microscopic. We're diving into the structural integrity of something that seems, deceptively simple.
It
We're
does.
analyzing key excerpts from a source called Mission Monkeys and the Hot Cocoa Code Cracker.
And it might sound like a title you'd find next to the children's picture books, but the engineering behind this short story is, frankly, brilliant.
It really is.
Our mission here is to basically reverse engineer the learning experience. We want to analyze exactly how this narrative uses character dynamics, escalating difficulty, and these incredibly effective rewards to teach foundational concepts.
And to teach them quickly, what are the core teaching techniques hidden inside this story about, of all things, a hot beverage?
I think that's the magic of it. It doesn't feel like a lesson. It feels like an adventure.
Okay, so let's unpack this high-stakes scenario. The scene is set at the North Pole Café.
Which already gives you that maximum sensory appeal.
Totally. And we meet the Mission Monkeys, Mila, Milo, Mia, and Mick. They're there for this legendary magical hot cocoa, but they're hit with an immediate crisis-level obstacle.
Which is the core mechanism of motivation, right? The main objective, this giant mug-shaped hot cocoa machine, is locked.
Locked behind a secret 3-part code.
So the stakes are immediately high. It's not a question of if they'll learn some math or language, it's a question of when they'll get their cocoa.
And the mission statement, it's delivered by Peppermint the elf. I just love Peppermint's introduction because it sets the entire tone for the learning environment.
It really does.
They need someone smart and silly to crack the 3 puzzles.
That phrase, smart and silly, is just a fascinating piece of pedagogical language.
Why do you say that?
Because it immediately validates 2 completely different approaches to problem solving. It's saying rigor, the smart side, is necessary, but so is intuition, creativity, the silly side.
So it tells the audience, the learner, that your logical brain and your playful brain both get a seat at the table.
Exactly.
That distinction immediately leads us to the team they've put together. So if the code is the lock, let's look at the mechanism they've built to pick it. The team.
And these 4 mission monkeys, they aren't just random names. They're perfectly designed cognitive archetypes. The source gives us this brilliant, quick shorthand for different styles of thinking.
Which ensures that any kid reading can probably identify with one of them.
That's key for establishing trust.
So let's start with Mila. She is the epitome of pure logic.
The analytical one.
The analytical foundation. The one who loves solving puzzles in that traditional, textbook way. She needs proof.
And then you have Mia, who is a little bit different. Mia is the pattern spotter. She's the fast reader, the one who's looking for structure, for sequences.
She's not proving the logic. She's recognizing the rhythm of the data.
That's a great way to put it. She's indispensable for problems that need you to see an underlying progression, not just apply a formula.
Then we shift, and pretty dramatically, to the silly side of things, starting with Milo.
Ah, Milo.
He's explicitly called the creative one. He's the one who, and I love this detail, thinks marshmallows hold secret messages.
And that little detail is a huge insight into the narrative design. It tells you, the learner, that creative interpretation is a valid tool. When the logical path is blocked, Milo's there to offer an abstract solution.
The divergent thinker.
Exactly.
Which brings us to Mick. And Mick is, he's basically the antithesis of the entire mission.
He is. He's the immediate gratification seeker.
The one who just wants to drink all the hot cocoa before cracking any codes.
And Mick is, you could argue, the most essential character for teaching young learners.
Yeah.
He represents distraction, impatience, the temptation to just skip the process.
He's the foil.
Absolutely. The narrative needs Mick to teach delayed gratification. If the process was too easy, the reward wouldn't feel earned. Mick reminds you there's a cost for skipping the work.
It's such a fantastic setup. And right after the dilemma is introduced, the narrative does this great thing where Mila, the logical one, she turns to the audience.
Oh yeah, the fourth wall break.
She asks, "Can you help us crack the cocoa code, kids?"
And that small moment, it just transforms the dynamic. It pulls the passive observer into the active learning team. You aren't just watching them solve it, you're part of the team.
You're integrated into the Mission Monkeys framework.
And that sense of collective success is vital to the payoff later.
Okay, so here's where the source material gets really interesting. The architecture of the 3 puzzles themselves. They have to solve 3 challenges, and the source escalates the cognitive load just beautifully.
It's a perfect curriculum path. They move from a concrete, observable, physical concept, then through language, and they end with an abstract, numerical concept.
Let's jump into puzzle number 1, marshmallow math. The context is delightfully practical. It's real-world subtraction using floating marshmallows on a screen.
The setting makes the math relatable, and the problem is so concrete. Start with 6 marshmallows. You eat 2. How many are left?
A classic setup, but it's grounded in a high-value object, the marshmallow.
Right.
That reinforces the concept way better than, 6 apples minus 2 apples.
So much better.
And this is the moment where Mick, the gratification seeker, he finally gets to shine as the comedic foil.
What does he say?
When asked how many are left, he immediately shouts, 0 because I ate them all.
Which is, it's a genius answer, really. But Mila is quick to say, not helping.
And that exchange isn't just a joke. It's an intentional pedagogical moment. It actively addresses that urge for instant consumption and reinforces the need to stay focused.
Stay focused on the problem, even when the temptation is right there. The correct logical answer, of course, being 4.
So we have the first piece of the code. 4, the lesson is clear. Stay focused, delay gratification, and apply basic arithmetic. Now, the pivot for puzzle number 2.
The cocoa word mix.
We shift entirely from subtraction to language arts.
And the necessity of that pivot is what we need to focus on. It shows the learner that logic alone isn't enough. You have to be agile.
The letters LEVO are on a giant mug. The prompt is a little leading. What warm drink does that spell?
Right.
So based on that prompt, Mila starts trying to unscramble words like, Velo or some foreign cocoa brand.
The logical approach.
But before her analytical brain can work, Mick, the intuitive, non-logical one, he jumps in with a completely unexpected answer. Love.
And this is maybe the most crucial pedagogical debate point in the entire story. Mila initially tells him to try again because she assumes the answer has to be cocoa or coffee.
And it's not.
But the source confirms that Mick's intuitive, emotional answer, L-E-E-E, is actually the correct element for the code.
Okay, wait, I have to challenge that choice, though. From a purely logical perspective, isn't that undermining the entire exercise?
I could see why you'd say that.
They asked for a drink and they accepted an emotion. Doesn't validating intuition over the explicit instructions make the whole mission less rigorous?
That's a valid point, but I think the story is making a more sophisticated argument about learning. It teaches 2 things at once. Yes, you need word unscrambling and vocabulary skills, the smart part.
Right.
But it also validates that knowledge isn't always linear. The concept of love aligns perfectly with the entire sensory environment. The warmth, the sweetness, sharing with friends.
So the story is arguing that connecting academic skills to positive emotional themes makes them stickier, more meaningful.
Exactly. Find the humanity in the equation. Look past the cold logic and see the context.
Mila even winks and says, it's not the cocoa code, but love is the right answer after all.
Which confirms it. Sweetness and friendship are the true overarching code requirement. We now have the second element of the code, love, E.
Okay, now for the final required challenge, puzzle number 3, pattern in the steam. This is where the story elevates the difficulty again, moving from concrete things and familiar words to abstract numerical patterns.
This is the perfect capstone challenge. We started with 6 minus 2, which is basic. We moved to language decoding. Now we need higher-level relational thinking.
The sequence swirling in the steam is 1, 2, 4, 8, and then a question mark.
Milo correctly observes that steam is doing math, but it's Mia, the pattern spotter, who connects the dots fastest.
Right, Mia, the one who looks for the structural rhythm.
She declares it's doubling. And the choice of doubling is important here. It's not just add 1, add 2, add 4.
Because doubling requires understanding a functional multiplicative relationship.
Which is a significant cognitive step up from simple addition or subtraction. It demands abstract recognition of, exponential growth, even in its simplest form.
And the resulting number is 16. So the 3 challenges give us this clear escalating path: basic arithmetic with 4, intuitive language with love, and this higher level abstract pattern with 16.
The structure is just flawless. The difficulty is precisely calibrated to stretch the cognitive muscles just enough.
Which makes the reward feel thoroughly earned.
Not just given.
So after all that effort, the final code is revealed. 4 Lovey 16. It works. It unlocks the giant hot cocoa machine. Now we need to look at the payoff. The reward structure is maybe the most important pedagogical nugget in this whole thing.
Absolutely. The machine delivers the ultimate sensory payoff. It's not just hot cocoa.
No, it serves up these giant mugs of hot cocoa with whipped cream, candy cane spoons, and the most crucial detail of all,
Dancing marshmallows.
dancing marshmallows. This is not a subtle reward. It's an overwhelming sensory extravaganza designed for maximum positive reinforcement.
It validates every single moment of focus they had to exert. And Peppermint the Elf confirms the core learning objective by cheering, "You cracked the code. Brain power and cocoa power."
That phrase is the entire educational thesis distilled into 5 words.
The brain power, the hard skills of subtraction, word unscrambling, pattern recognition, it led directly to the sensory payoff, the cocoa power. This establishes an incredibly strong positive feedback loop.
A loop that tells young learners, effort equals reward, and that reward is overwhelmingly delicious and fun.
So if we review the stated learning outcomes, it's incredibly efficient. They covered multiple core subjects, the value of teamwork, cognitive diversity, and stressed focus and delayed gratification.
All in the time it took to solve 3 fun puzzles.
The implicit lessons, though, are even more powerful. The story really champions the idea that solving puzzles is fundamentally sweeter with friends and cocoa.
It's the educational version of using a cookie to get a toddler to eat their vegetables. The reward is so good, it retroactively makes the effort enjoyable.
And it successfully tackled the Mick problem, the distraction problem. By making Mick wait, the narrative proved that the initial difficulty of ignoring the marshmallows for the math problem eventually leads to a reward far superior to what he could have grabbed early.
It turns that moment of impatience into a successful test of discipline.
And that discipline is immediately validated. It shows the learner that maintaining concentration even when you're tempted leads to a better outcome. And that's a lesson that transfers to any educational environment.
So, to summarize this deep dive, we've analyzed how the Mission Monkey's narrative structures learning by combining 4 distinct cognitive styles in its characters.
Escalating the difficulty across different subjects for love, E16.
And providing a clear, immediate, and overwhelmingly positive sensory reward to establish a powerful learning feedback loop.
The ultimate takeaway from this source is its mastery of integrating cognitive effort with sensory payoff. The message is just so clear. Knowledge gained through logic and teamwork deserves the tastiest, most immediate reward.
It frames learning as a puzzle with a delicious outcome, not just a task with some abstract benefit down the line.
Exactly.
I think the source material is genius. But before we wrap up, we have to talk about the final micro moment in the story.
Yes.
Right after the hot cocoa is served, Mick, the monkey who previously only cared about drinking the cocoa, he quickly transitions from consuming the reward to asking for a brand new mission.
Specifically one about banana milk.
What?
That is such an important final detail. The immediate goal, the hot cocoa, was achieved. The reward was consumed. So what does Meek's instant shift in focus suggest about the true nature of learning motivation?
Does the positive feeling of success, of cracking the code with friends, create an intrinsic desire for the next puzzle, regardless of the specific flavor of the payoff?
Or is he just operating on a continuous loop of external gratification, moving from one flavor goal to the next?
It raises the question of whether the narrative has successfully transitioned Meek from being purely externally motivated, I want the cocoa, to being intrinsically motivated by the satisfaction of the process.
I want to solve the next mission. It's a subtle but powerful final thought on what truly drives us to learn.
Something to mull over as you apply brain power and cocoa power to your own tasks this week. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the surprisingly complex world of the Mission Monkeys.